Okay, I just got done at the library. I fully had the intention of coming here and staying until 9. Right now it is 6:55. I got here at 6:30, but I only slept 4 hours last night, and so I was literally like falling asleep at the library. But I have kind of a lot to journal about because some things are going on in the personal life, and also I wanted to finish editing the Portland vlog. Yeah, so I'm gonna go home now, and I think it's completely okay that I'm abandoning this right now. I kind of want to take a nap at the park, but it's not safe. But that's what my body really wants right now, but I can't do that. So I'm gonna go home and take a nap in my bed. I'm debating right now whether I should just go home and get ready for bed and then go to sleep for the night at probably at that point it'll be 8:30. Or if I should take a quick nap, wake up, and then go to sleep at my usual time of 3. And I know that sounds horrible, but also the thought of going home and not being able to sleep immediately sounds really tiring, because I feel tired in my heart right now. So yeah. Okay, it is currently 1:30 a.m. and it is the next day. Yesterday I did end up taking a nap. I woke up at 11. I finished editing the Portland vlog at 4 a.m. and then I posted it at 4. So yeah, it's looking like my days are officially transitioning into being a night owl. I don't really know yet if I'm okay with this transition. I know that I had to change some camera settings really quick, so I actually don't remember where I just left off with what I was saying, but I want to recap the day today. I started off by I ran some errands in the morning, and then I had therapy, and therapy was really good today. It was a lot of crying. I hadn't fully figured out this one thought I've been having, but kind of towards the end of the session, my therapist had dropped this reflection of me, and she said that something seems to happen to you when you're in the decision-making seat. And we didn't fully flesh that out because we didn't have time, and unfortunately she is going on vacation next week, so I'm gonna have to sit on this for my own for 2 weeks. But the understanding that I have of it so far, as much as I've thought about it, has been that I don't really make decisions because I'm scared of whatever is going to happen after. I'm scared of the feelings that I'm going to feel. I'm scared of people being upset at me. I'm scared of basically all of the consequences, and so I'm kind of in this constant paralysis when it comes to interpersonal decisions, where I'll just leave things kind of unclear and kind of out in the open and just wait for things to happen to me, I think. And it makes me feel actually very resentful because I feel like it robs me of my own agency, and also kind of makes me upset when I'm being put in a position where I kind of feel like I'm getting thrown around, because it just feels like I don't have a say, but really it's me never choosing to make any waves myself. And so it kind of puts me in that double bind where I'm upset that I'm not making any waves, or because I'm not making any waves, I'm also just not really getting what I want out of the situation. And then 2, I'm upset when other people are doing it because I have this unspoken contract where I can't, so you can't either. And I think that part of the avoidance in making decisions too is just not wanting to feel how scary it feels to make a decision and feel the uncertainty of the ripples that decision could have. And I think that a truth that I'm coming to in this moment is that I do need to start making more decisions for myself, whether it's the right or the wrong one. I just need to make any decision and learn to regulate through whatever happens after. And it is that whole piece of self-trust and just being able to take any action and know that I will be okay and I can take the steps required afterwards. If accountability is required of me, then I can do that. And it's being willing to make mistakes and knowing that mistakes are going to happen. Conflict is going to happen. It's like all a part of being human, and I can't try to do everything perfectly to avoid it at the expense of not living at all. I think this also falls in line with like anxious attachment in general. If you watch Heidi Prieb's videos, she talks a lot about how people with anxious attachment sort of do this thing where it is common for them to be angry at their partners a lot for essentially not making boundaries for them. Like they don't know how to make boundaries for themselves, and so they kind of look to their partner to make the boundaries for them, for what should be okay for them. And inevitably it puts both partners in this situation where there's a lot of pressure and the anxious person is getting upset a lot at the other person because there's this like expectation placed on them that can't be fulfilled. And I feel like that and this thing that I'm currently experiencing of not wanting to make any decisions, it all comes from the same place, and it basically is the same thing. And it's just another one of those moments where it shouldn't be surprising at this point how many realizations that I come to in therapy that end up just being the same thing but wearing different masks, but it's almost always the same thing. And it's just like, damn, again, and in a different form. And I know it's not easy to see it in yourself, and it's easier to see in others, but I'm perplexed how many times this can happen without me realizing that that's what's happening. Also, I just really love the way my therapist does therapy, because I love my therapist's approach on therapy because she's very process oriented, and instead of like investigating a certain thought that I'm having, like the content of the thought, she'll like, I have tried IFS with another therapist as well, and I think that it never really resonated. It might have also been the point of the journey I was on, but I couldn't really connect to it in a way that felt real. But with this therapist today, she had asked me to have both of the parts that I was struggling with like talk to each other, and she always talks about creating a dialogue between the different parts of you, and it's almost like coming to a compromise for like what is okay, instead of it being like either this or either that. And so they were talking, and she was having me talk out loud, and then after each thought I'm like sitting there thinking, and then she's like, okay, well, what does the other one have to say? And then back and forth until eventually there was no response from the other part. And that was a moment of clarity for me, because it modeled to me like what my inner dialogue should look like as I'm like trying to interact with my different parts, because I think there can be a lot of confusion about how that process even happens internally when you're used to coming from such a dysregulated, like neurotic place. And so I think to like have that modeled for me by me doing it myself, it feels very corrective, and it feels very like, oh, there's actually a way to manipulate my thinking in order to actually think more effectively and like be in communication with my parts, with my different feelings, in a way that is respectful to all of them and integrates all of them, instead of it just being like a sea of thoughts that I'm like, if I can explain it, it usually feels like just thoughts everywhere, and like I'm reading 5 different newspapers of thoughts at the same time, and I like can't for the life of me figure out a map of like what makes sense with what, because there's just so much going on at all times, it feels like. And so that was really helpful. And I don't fully have the words to articulate the process of her approach to therapy, and I'm slowly learning over time as I'm seeing the ways that she like picks up on me and like structures her responses. But it's just really cool. Like every single time I have therapy, she blows my mind, and I'm genuinely so impressed by her. Like she is so smart and so perceptive. I have no words. Anyway, back to my day. So I ended up going to the beach. I initially wanted to go on a hike today, but I was having some pretty bad period cramps, so I decided to go read at the beach instead. And it was just really nice to sit there and journal and read. And I'm thinking now that whenever I'm bored and I don't have something to like something specific that I want to do, going anywhere and reading is pretty much like a perfect plan. It's like the perfect plan, actually, because oftentimes before I would go to the park and like try to force myself to journal during my free time, but there's not always thoughts ready to be formulated. And I think reading, you can literally spend hours getting lost, and it also being paired with like being in nature and in like outside, it's just so nourishing. Truly, it is so nourishing, and it feels like medicine. And yeah. And so then afterwards I went to Sugarfish. It was really cool because I kind of had this cyclical thought of having serendipitous moments again, because if you watched the Portland vlog, I was talking a lot about connecting with strangers and it feeling so good to be like vulnerable with people and have those moments be so fleeting, and having these weird moments like basically every night of worrying if that would ever happen again, because they seemed to come so randomly. And I was really, each time it feels like a miracle, and it's like, wow, am I ever gonna connect with a stranger like that again? And I think tonight kind of proved to me that it can happen anytime you want it to, honestly. And I do think it is in order to create those moments, instead of wait for them to happen to you, it does require vulnerability first on my part. And I was at the bar at Sugarfish, and I just started talking to the waiter, and we ended up having a really nice conversation. Or the bartender, sorry. We ended up having a really nice conversation, and it was just another moment where I felt like, wow, people are really cool, and I'm pretty just happy getting to exist in this world and be able to have those little moments. The conclusion of my thoughts today is that the serendipitous moments are actually always available to us should we choose them, but I do think it requires intentional effort, and I think it requires time to be alone and to interact with the world alone, because the opportunity for that really doesn't happen when you're with other people. I think it can, but certainly not to the same extent or frequency. And I am finding that I really love getting to know people. I don't love maintaining connection, as weird as that is. I really just love getting to know new people, and I haven't explored that thought at all yet. I don't know what the pathology there is. But yeah, that's what I'm discovering about myself, and I kind of like it. I just got back from being at the park, and it was so nice today. I've actually been avoiding that park because of some memories I've had there, but I think being there again during sunset really brought some things to the surface. I've been thinking about how sometimes especially when it's with people that matter to me, have kind of a difficult time when it comes to disagreeing, and I've never really known why exactly. I've always just kind of felt myself getting tense when we start to disagree and like something bad is about to happen. It comes from my childhood, because when my mom and I would disagree, she would actually stonewall me for a period of time, anywhere between a few hours to days or weeks, depending on what we were disagreeing on. And so I have come to learn that if I am starting to disagree with someone, my body just gets really nervous, because I'm kind of expecting them to not love me anymore, or yeah, I'm kind of just expecting that they're about to take away their love and not think of me the same way. And kind of as I was at the park, I kind of realized that the same thing is happening under the surface for me when I feel like someone doesn't understand me. It's not really so much that I'm realizing that it's not really so much about the way that I feel upset that I'm not being understood. I'm scared that being misunderstood means that if they don't understand me, then they won't love me. And that's a deeper shame that exists under there. But I had this realization because I was at dinner with my dad for Father's Day, and he had made a comment that made me feel really misunderstood, and in the moment it did hurt my feelings quite a bit. I got a little bit defensive, and then I had a moment where I realized that he's not gonna understand, probably will never understand, and that I actually don't need to keep over explaining to try to get him to understand for my point to still be real for me. And then it led to another realization of that the reason why I get scared when someone disagrees is because I think it's gonna mean that they're gonna think less of me or make some sort of meaning out of it and then not love me anymore, because that's kind of what would happen with my mom. And I think that realizing that real time, that oh, this disagreement doesn't actually mean that he doesn't love me and he's not going to withdraw love, and just because we don't agree, felt really liberating. And it made me cry a lot at the park, because I realized how much I've been like bracing myself and expecting that people are just not gonna love me, when that's not really the case, and people don't have to understand you to love you or see you. And it's like, it's understanding that they can misunderstand you and still think the world of you. That doesn't inherently mean that they're now thinking that you're like icky or gross.